where this video is going to go, but please bear with me. So, about yesterday, I, as some of you may know, had to get a endometrial biopsy done to check why I was having ant flow for longer than 30 days. This is a normal thing as far as the bleeding or the heavy bleeding when it comes to perimenopause. But that can also turn into other things. But what I do want to talk about is how me going in to get that procedure actually held up the procedure due to my anxiety, my worry, and the stress that it caused my blood pressure to go up from 169 over 109. Most of that was due to my nervousness. And while some of you may come on here and say, well, just don't think about it. Just be, first of all, this is not that type of party. I talk about the realness of human endeavors and the realness of what we go through, our experiences. And it is not one size fits all. I am a worrier. Do I want to be like this? No. Do I try extensively to try to figure out how to not be like this? Absolutely. And I have come a long way. So I'm going to at least put that out there. I do know how to talk myself off of a ledge, but I don't want to be on that ledge on a consistent basis. What I will say is that my doctor, to the best of her ability, held space for me and allowed me to try and calm myself down while I was there before doing this procedure, because she didn't want to do it with my pressure being that high. It's a given, okay? It just makes sense. Twofold to this, and it depends on your level of, your anxiety, your panic attacks, and things like that. I am used to self-soothing. And while some of the mental gurus may say, that's a trauma response, whether it's a trauma response or not, it is something that works for me. Here's the other part of that. I'm going to add to it. It's a catch-22. Sometimes the way that we go about self-soothing ourselves, if you know how to tune into it, it can be actually a gift. If you know how to transmute it and expand on it and add it as a form of growth, it can be beneficial for you. I was happy that she left me in that room by myself. Why? Because yes, that is the initial thing I'm used to doing, because I come from an upbringing that holding space for emotional surges was not a thing. Okay, that's one. Number two is the fact that I, over the past few years, have started to work on those self-soothers in a way that will help me when I come into situations like this. So I knew what tools to utilize. I went towards certain frequencies, like on YouTube, you do your binaural beats or you do sound bowls. I turned that on. I started doing some deep breathing. And I started actually nurturing myself and talking to myself like a parent maybe should, okay? And I started weighing my pros and cons. I can be very logical, okay? I can be very just analytical and just the now moment, the present moment with myself. So I sat there and I asked myself questions, why are you so anxious and worried? Because your body is about to be manipulated in a way that you're not comfortable with. At the same time, if you don't get this done, it may cause future problems, and you don't want to have any other problems weighing on you than the ones you already have right now. I also told myself, okay, while this moment may be uncomfortable, at least it's not an exasperated moment, like with dealing with trying to be more stable and coming out of being unhoused. So that helped my pressure come down. So when they came in and checked it, my pressure went down from where it was earlier. And I was like, okay, but they still wanted it lower. So I'm still, still having conversations with myself at this time, while actually texting my daughter at the same time. We're good at having candid conversations and laughing and things like that. That is something that I go to. I like to make jokes in order to lighten up the ordeal so I can at least calm myself down as well. Please take these tips as you see fit, take what resonates and leave the rest. I am not out here to shame anybody when it comes to having anxiety or feeling just very vulnerable in situations that maybe somebody else may go in and just feel like it's a breeze. we all feel differently. And I really wish we would stop shaming each other because you are in a place of okayness where the next person might not be okay with that same scenario. So as I continue to talk to myself, I got to the root of the problem. I don't want anything else to happen. I am tired of, going through just so much weight, so much strain over the past 4 or 5 years. It has just been, really depleting and a lot. And then I got to the part of me aging. And it's like, am I ready to age? Nobody is ever ready to age. I already know that. We can, put a stamp of approval on that one. I started comparing myself to my parents. And that's when I really had to really have this conversation with myself. It's like, what are you doing different from your parents right now? What have you been doing? I stay away from certain foods as I can, as best as I can, considering this journey. I always take into account where I am and not compare myself to anybody else. People like to throw tips out there and say, just don't do certain things, but they never take into account the person's actual situation. So I always like to say, do things as best as you humanly can for yourself with the means that you have. So yes, I do try to watch certain things. Sometimes I can't. I try to mitigate my stress as best as I can considering my situation. And I just started reaccounting all the things that I have done thus far that, and in comparison to when my mom was this age, how is it a little bit better than where she was and what other changes can I make for myself? So, in all, after really just me talking to myself and just having a nice, gentle conversation with myself, I was able to get my pressure down enough to get the procedure done. And as much as I made it to be as crazy as it was, it really wasn't that bad. It's not to say that it can't be that bad. One other thing I do want to touch on, and this is something that a lot of us like to do, is the what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. No. What doesn't kill us causes us to have years of anxiety, CPTSD, PTSD, panic attacks, stressors, weighing, overthinking spurts, having your blood pressure surge. It causes a reactor. Your nervous system remembers these things. Your body keeps the score. This is not to say that we are searching to continue to have things happen to us, okay? That's not the case. So I really wish we would really dismantle that phrase. That's not cool. That is really dismissing where the person is or how they're trying to navigate things. Just because I come on here looking like I have it all together does not necessarily mean that I always have it together. And I think that's the facade of humanity as it is today. All of the quote unquote weaknesses are casted aside, mocked, teased, abused, and then we have to put it under the rug because now we have shame for feeling these things. I ain't about that. This is not the story over here. This is not the way we go about things over here. I will share things as they come up. But anyway, if any of those tips help you, it may not. I still work through things. I still grow as I go. I still find different ways to help me not be in anxious mode all the time. But sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just have to deal with that moment when it presents itself. And that's what I did. And I was able to get through the situation. And yeah, I'm here. I'm dealing. And yeah, I'll talk about more about these things as they come about. All right, y'all. Bye.